Ooh, lovely. Nice. So after transporting my motorcycle cross country, I ended up in a situation where I didn't have a front passenger seat in the Subaru anymore. And being the optimistic sort, this reminded me of a dream I've had of swapping in some fancy seats into a hoopty car. And so this led me on a journey which took me via Facebook to the Never Never land of junkyards, where I found a 335i with top-of-the-line sport BMW seats. These were heated, power everything seats, and they were in a color that I really like. Not only that, this junkyard was complete with peacocks and an assortment of luxury vehicles. And then once I got the seats home, I realized that there was a lot of electronics going on in these seats, and I was going to need to figure out a way to adapt those electronics to my little Subaru. And so off to the junkyard we went, looking for electronic connectors. And at the junkyard I was reminded of why it is hard to find nice seats at the junkyard, because it's not like they don't have luxury vehicles there, but the seats are oftentimes super high mileage, worn out, and the seats are exposed to the environment. So if you don't catch them at the right moment, they get pretty musty.
Paw prints in it from a raccoon.
But I do enjoy a good junkyard adventure. You never know what you're going to find there. It's a little slice of humanity that is really beautiful if you got the right eye for it.
Check out this seat. It's like the best seat I've ever seen at this junkyard.
So after a couple different trips to a couple different junkyards, we were able to locate the connectors we were looking for. These little yellow connectors, they're in a specific year range of BMWs. These are the ones we needed. So I was able to salvage a couple of these yellow connectors from a BMW and a couple other connectors from a Subaru, with the hopes of making a little electronic adapter. It's not exactly how it worked out, but that was the idea when I started.
The first car I found was like, it's in the right year range, but I was able to get one of the connectors.
Right.
Which seemed to be like a connector they use all the time on like all the models, but then the other connector didn't have it. And I don't know if it's like, it literally goes to the heated seats, or there was like that button that was up here. I haven't found a seat that has that button. Oh, doggy. Oh, doggy.
It's not the best.
And then the real work began, which was trying to figure out what all the electronics on this seat did and where the wires went and how I was going to make this work. And in that fight, I brought in different resources. Some of them are this Real OEM website, this new TIS website. Those are both great BMW resources for figuring out what is going on, for parts diagrams, that sort of thing. And sometimes you look up part numbers and you can't find them even on those websites. But if you look on eBay, sometimes someone's selling the exact same thing and they already know what it is. So I found that useful as well. All the tips and tricks that I could pull out of my hat to get this thing to figure out what was going on here. And then once I had a decent idea of what was going on with the electronics in this car and whether or not it was feasible to make them work, it was off to the car to measure up the little seat rails and see how I was going to bolt the BMW seats into the Subaru. So after some measurements of the Subaru and some measurements of the BMW seat, I'm off to the chop saw. Alright, so I've got some jumper wires hooked up to my car battery. It's working. So I got this car from a salvage yard, and you can see the window was definitely broken on that car. So I have glass all up in these slides here, and it's just crunching its way out and falling onto the floor. Alright, with this brace tacked in now, and some more measuring and more cutting and welding later, we've got a little seat adapter rail. We've also capped off the ends here and ground those smooth so those look nice. And now it's time to paint. And there's a test fit of my little adapter rail in the car. Brackets all in there, everything seems to line up. And then it's a taste of luxury as I get to sit on these seats for the first time. Boy, do I like it. Yeah. But then it's time to make this wiring thing work, and so that means tearing up the interior and running a wire from the battery in the front of the car to a relay underneath the dash, and then from that relay underneath the carpeting to both seats. And then once I had all the new necessary wiring sorted, I ended up with a bunch of wiring underneath each seat, to which I then had to figure out how to install the connectors from the junkyard. And to make these seats work, the big trick, at least in my case, was a little timer, a pulse generator, which I acquired off of the internet, and I had to wire that thing in with the little teeny tiny connectors to trick these seats into working. Because the big thing with these seats that I discovered after I bought them was that there's a computer on each seat. That computer is supposed to be talking to two other computers inside the BMW dash. And those two computers we clearly do not have anymore. And so one of the things about these seats is that yes, you can add power to them and make them work. But the little computer goes to sleep after about 10 seconds. And so if it's not receiving little signals from those computers in the dash of the BMW, it goes to sleep. And the trick to keep it awake is that little pulse generator. Add that pulse generator on there, and it keeps the seats awake and allows you to operate them normally as you would at any time when the vehicle is on. And once I had all that stuff sorted out, I could plug everything together, connect all my little electrical connectors, and voila. This is one of the most beautiful moments in Hoopty history. We've got fancy BMW seats in a crappy Hoopty Subaru. Look at these seats. I got this cool thing, thigh support thing. Isn't that awesome? It's fully functional. Hey, well, thanks for watching this video. If you want more detail on these things, I'm going to have 2 more videos. I'm going to have a detailed video on how I made the seat rail and another one on how I did the electronics on this thing. So for those of you that are actually thinking about doing this yourselves, those are for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Kitty.